It is late 1818 in the small town of Adams, Tennessee, and a family lives in fear. Someone or something have been terrorizing the Bell family for almost a year, and attempts to communicate have only brought about horrendous results. Then the thing began to speak. Upon being asked what it was, the disembodied voice replied, "I am a spirit. I was once very happy, but I have been disturbed." However, upon further questioning, the thing revealed its true identity, claiming to be Old Kate Bat's witch. In the year 1804, John Bell and his family moved from North Carolina to the rural town of Adams, Tennessee. There, he bought a 100-acre farm on the banks of the Red River. Bell fought under Andrew Jackson in the War of 1812, and by 1817 he was an influential member of the community. He and his wife, Lucy Bell, had 9 children and lived in a large double log cabin, nearly 2 stories high, with 6 rooms and a large porch. Then the trouble began. It began with bumping and scratching sounds in the night, which the Bells thought was the wind blowing the pear trees outside against the house. Then tapping at the front door began to occur, which the Bells assumed was a prankster. However, beginning in May of 1818, the noises became more unexplainable. On a Sunday night in May of 1818, the 4 Bell brothers were asleep and, according to Richard Bell, were awakened by the sound of a rat gnawing. However, as soon as they lit a candle, the noises stopped, then began again as soon as the candle went out. The noise would move from room to room, waking the whole family. Then new sounds began to occur. There was scratching at the door, sounds of heavy stones hitting the floor, chains dragging, and the sound of someone choking. Chairs began to fall over, and covers were pulled off the beds. Then some invisible thing began pulling the Bell children's hair long enough to inflict pain. At first, the Bells told no one of the goings-on in their house, but eventually John Bell told their neighbor and friend James Johnson and his wife, who spent the night at the Bell residence and witnessed the horrors unfolding. And after that night, the happenings at the Bell residence became common knowledge in Adams and throughout Robertson County. The Bells decided to try to communicate with the entity, asking questions with numerical answers, and the thing answered by tapping against the wall in quick bursts. Then the thing began to talk. At first, it was a low, broken whistle noise, but eventually the voice became clearly that of a woman. This was when the Bells asked the thing what it was, and it declared itself to be Kate Bat's witch. Kate Batts was one of the Bell family's neighbors. Shortly after arriving in Adams, John Bell and Kate Batts had a violent disagreement, which led to Kate holding a grudge against the family. She was also known for being a bit off, and was already believed by many in the community to be a witch. While not all believed in witches in Adams, most of the community was wary of Kate Batts. Once the Bell family got the witch to talking, they couldn't get it to shut up. It didn't like talking about itself. Instead, it got into religious and philosophical discussions with the many visitors to the farm who came to see the witch. It even quoted the Bible to make points and rarely lost a debate. The spirit even went to church and attended services. The witch would even get drunk and keep the family up with cursing and drunk singing. However, Kate particularly liked tormenting Elizabeth Bell, one of John Bell's daughters. She would be pricked by invisible pins, slapped across the face, the combs would fly out of her hair, and her shoes would unlace and fly off as the witch laughed maniacally. Kate tormented Elizabeth so much that the Bell family was afraid to leave her alone out of fear that the witch might kill her. The witch also had a hatred for John Bell. It never explained why it hated him so much, but it swore it would kill him. John Bell began to suffer from a mysterious condition where his tongue swelled and stiffened in his mouth, making it hard to eat or talk, while the witch laughed at his troubles. The only member of the family the witch even remotely liked was Lucy Bell, who the spirit gave helpful advice and informed of what was going on with their family in North Carolina. As the story spread, more and more visitors came to the farm, including a certain General Andrew Jackson, who knew John Bell from service in the War of 1812 and wanted to witness the spirit for himself. Jackson went to the Bell farm from Nashville with a company of soldiers, one of who insisted he could kill the witch. As Jackson's wagon approached the Bell residence, the wheels suddenly locked. Despite the ground being dry and level, the soldiers could not get the wagon moving again. Eventually, Jackson joked, "By the eternal, boys, it is the witch," to which the witch finally spoke up, saying she would see him that night. At the Bell house, Jackson waited for the witch to appear, listening to the would-be witch killer boast about killing the witch. The witch finally appeared late at night with a disembodied voice, daring the would-be witch killer to shoot in her direction. When he did, she grabbed him by the nose and dragged him around a room, making him dance, after which the young soldier fled in terror. This, however, amused Jackson and the rest of the men, who spent the rest of the night in drunken merriment with the witch. The witch even shook hands with several visitors, with her hand being described as like a woman's. John Bell's health mysteriously deteriorated, with the viciousness of the witch's attacks crippling him. Then, on the morning of December 19th, 1820, he fell into a deep sleep, which the family could not wake him from. John Bell Jr. went into the cupboard to find medicine, but found a vial full of a strange dark liquid. The family called on the assistance of a doctor in the town of Port Royal, but the witch insisted it was useless, saying, "I've got him this time. He'll never get up from that bed again." Dr. George Hobson gave some of the liquid to a cat, which caused it to convulse and die. John Bell died the very next day. While the haunting died down after John Bell's death, it never stopped. Even today, the old Bell property in Adams is a paranormal hotspot, and the hauntings have even moved to a nearby cave called the Bell Witch Cave. The Bell family still reports strange things that happened to them, but not nearly as often as what occurred in the late 1810s. Obviously, the story that I just told is just that, a story. However, there is more than enough eyewitness testimony that does state something happened at the Bell residence. Exactly what that was is likely lost to history. Happy Halloween.